and welcome back to Prime News, the Sunday edition. I'm Trusnay, and this time I'm joined by Jaco. I'm never going to get this right, ever. Anytime you come on, I always jack that up. It's always so weird.
Right,
did I? Yeah. All right, we're talking about Condoleezza Rice,
yes.
Mitch Daniels, the NCAA, and the NBA. I always have to start with, I am a huge fan of Condoleezza Rice because I remember seeing her name when I was young and going, oh, somebody, first of all, who has a name with a Z in it, okay?
Two Z's.
No, it's one Z. Condoleezza?
Is it?
Yeah, it's just one Z.
Okay.
Oh, you're right. There are two Z's in there.
What a fan.
Ooh, I have been spelling that wrong my whole life. That's terrible.
So you've known over your entire life.
Some fan you are.
I'm a terrible fan. Anyway, I love Condoleezza because she's just so smart and all those things. So when I saw this letter from Mitch Daniels in the Washington Post, I read the first paragraph and I was like, who are you talking? Do you know who you're talking to?
Yeah.
When he said, I'm writing this letter to you because you always been a sucker for a good cop, I lost it.
And you know, saying you're a sucker for a good cause, to me, is less offensive than the quotes he put around service opportunity.
Yes, you're right.
Like you kicked it off with as sarcastic sarcasm as you could possibly muster.
Yes.
And why? Like, what do you... He's got that actually, if you didn't know this, it's extremely corrupt already, and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Mitch, listen.
Ever since he was governor of a state that I used to live in, I always called him Mitch the bitch. I mean, I was never apologetic. Yeah, because it rhymes and it's so easy. It's such an easy.
And it described him.
And he's so little too.
Is he?
He's like 5'0". He's smaller than Prince, I think.
I did not know that.
Mitch is tiny.
I did not know that.
Google Mitch Dan and you start typing Daniels and you know how it comes up with suggestions.
Yeah.
The second suggestion is Mitch Daniels' height.
Well, you know what? Again, who are you to talk to Gandhi like this, then? I was very confused by the letter because I'm trying to understand, why are you, Mitch Daniels, writing this letter to Condi about the NCAA? I do know that he's president of Purdue University, and so, it's not like he's athletic director or anything, you know what I mean, involved in the NCAA. So I was a little confused in him just making this letter, and then even the tone in which he's approaching Condoleezza about this. For those who may have not seen the letter, he basically goes in and talks about how the NCAA is a cesspool, and then goes in to talk about things that he thinks would be the best solution for the problems that the NCAA basketball is experiencing. And so, I was just very confused. Let me just put it out there. We got this white man coming at a black woman who's well respected, well educated, and has proven, at least over the term of George Bush's term, that she is competent. Right. And you're coming at her trying to tell her before she even really gets a chance to do her job how she should do her job. Yeah. And I was like,
but was he even telling her how to do her job? Like I've read this letter, and first of all, I will say this: he is right in the fact that it is a cesspool. It is a deeply rooted, ingrained pool of web of deception and corruption. That it will be hard. I mean, you basically would have to fire everybody in charge and bring new people in and redo many aspects of the system.
Right.
I mean, I acknowledge that is true. Okay. But when reading this letter, what was his actual point?
Right.
Because he didn't really have one. He didn't really give her suggestions in here. He made this comment when it was discovered that at what we've always considered an academically admirable school, championships have been won by teams loaded with players who took completely phony classes. Most of us were sincerely shocked.
And I'm like, what? How? I was like, you can't
How is it
believe
that everybody, since I've been watching the NCAA, which I used to sit down with my dad and watch the March Madness tournament as long as I can remember, I always knew that kind of stuff went on. I had a guy from my hometown who ended up being an excellent NBA player, Glenn Robinson.
Okay.
We all knew in high school what was happening. We knew when he went to Purdue, Mitch's current school, that was happening. Like, so if we all knew this was happening, how were these?
Right.
Who were these people that were shocked?
Right. I did not believe him.
So what was the point of this? I feel like it was really just because obviously he's invited her
yes.
to speak at university.
Let me just read some of the things in this letter where I was just like, what? First he says, that invitation to speak on our campus still stands, Kanye.
Right.
Then he's like...
First of all, let me just say, before I trash you and sarcastically tell you how useless your current position is, you can still come to the school.
Yes. Then he says, you've always been a sucker for a good cause. Then at the end of the letter, thanks for serving, Condi, and best of luck. Go save us from ourselves. I don't, which again rubbed me the wrong way because, you know, there's been quite a bit on social media of black women needing to save, you know, everybody. And I'm like, what? I didn't get the point of this letter at all. I just did not.
Maybe he was supposed to have something to do with this and he's mad that he got shut out of it, or you know, maybe he's actually mad that a black woman got put in charge of this. You know, I don't know. I cannot tell you what his motivations were for writing this letter, and it doesn't become plain in the letter because he's kind of all over the place. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, inviting her to come speak at the school, and we're talking about AAU and the FBI investigation, and then
which
we're
is
talking
why
about
she's over this commission. The commission was specifically to deal with that issue of the FBI coming in and making arrests. They made 10 arrests with regard to shoe companies and Adidas's conspiracies with you know, the NCAA and shoe deals, and making sure that if they get pulled into the NBA, then they have to sign, you know, with Adidas and make all this money. There was 10 people arrested by the FBI over that. So that's why the commission exists in the first place, to deal with that.
He didn't mention anything about not, you know, compensating the players. Like, that's something that's totally shocking.
Yes.
That you guys are making billions off of these kids.
Yes.
And they really don't get anything but a supposed free education, which obviously they weren't getting because they were taking phony classes. So what perspective are you even talking from?
I thought this letter was so serving. Like, he just wanted to interject himself into this whole thing.
He knew somebody at the Washington Post.
He's a contributing writer.
The Washington Post published this. So he's got people over there, and he's like, let me be relevant in some way and step in on this. I feel like this is even a little overstepping his bounds because he oversees a college that has an NCAA basketball team.
Yes, I felt like this was a huge conflict of interest.
Should you have said anything on this even? You should have shut your mouth. Like, you know, now I hope somebody does some digging and unearth some corruption at Purdue. I'm praying that happens. Maybe FCN researchers need to get on that.
Yeah, we'll look into that. I ain't gonna lie, I did a little bit this morning.
Researchers.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research this morning, and because I was trying to find a picture of the two of them together, and I completely forgot that when Mitch Daniels was contemplating a run for president, Kanye was his first choice for VP. And so I found quite a few pictures of them together, and I'm like, well, do they have a cordial relationship, like a friendship? And he's kind of...
Well, they used to, but then she curved him when he invited her to Purdue.
So he's kind of coming for
her.
So
that's really... He made it plain in his first sentence what this was really about.
So basically, he's like, so you can mess with George, but you can't mess with me. Okay. So that's what that is. So male rejection. I tell you, toxic masculinity. God damn.
He's not even masculine. Such a little guy, little feller. Little voice.
Oh my God.
Hey guys, I'm big four-headed Mitch Daniels. I used to be governor of Indiana, and now I run an NCAA school. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got.
I can't.
So I wanna bring up, because you know we do talk about the NBA on here. We have a show, so I do want to talk about him pulling the NBA into this.
Okay.
Which I'm gonna tell you something. The NBA's kind of arrangement with with college basketball is a sweet one for them.
Yes.
It is very sweet. I would want. I'm not gonna make a full statement on this. I just kind of want to put feelers out there, and if Ravo has a interjection on this, I'd like to hear his opinion. Mm-hmm. They benefit from it, but is what they do in any way encouraging it?
Like, who encourages
the NBA? Like, does what the NBA does encourage the corruption in the NCAA? Because I don't from
explain
just
explain it better, because I'm not really...
Well, how about I say what the letter says?
Yes, go ahead.
Mitch called the NBA an unindicted co-conspirator with the NCAA. They say with the NCAA serving as its free minor league player development.
No.
And then says you get this huge televised showcase of players before they even get to come to the NBA. So you're benefiting from all this free stuff that you normally wouldn't have if the NCAA would curb its one and done rule and adopt more of a baseball rule where either you go straight to play in the pros after high school or you stay for 3 years minimum before you can go pro. And so he's saying that the NBA is definitely playing a part in the corruption of the NCAA because it has all the incentive in the world to keep how the NCAA is going as is.
Yeah, but I mean, let's start off with this. The NBA pays its players. The NCAA does it. So you're saying that the NBA is who is the NBA exploiting?
Right. And here's so you said if I have a comment on that, right? So here's my thought to that. How many players actually go to the National Basketball Association from the NCAA program?
Right.
The number is so small that you really cannot point the finger because the one and dones are superior athletes. They're all going to the NBA. Yeah. They could literally go anywhere. They can go to Lithuania. They can go to Spain. They can go anywhere and then go into the league the following year. Right. That doesn't matter. Right. Those kids that are going to the NCAA, let's legitimately look at a lot of those players at like a Gonzaga, right? Okay. Who can go to the tournament, who make the tournament exciting. Their asses will never see the light of day in the NBA. So at the very least, they are really making the NCAA tournament more exciting. They have nothing to do with the NBA whatsoever. Yeah. Those kids that are like you're talking about programs like Kentucky. You're talking about Duke. You're talking who else, Jacob? Who else has famed, prestigious programs that get blue chip players that historically go directly into the NBA?
Into the NBA,
Duke,
North Carolina, Kansas.
You're talking at best. You're under 10 program. You're under 10 schools.
He actually says that in the letter that it's a very small amount of schools.
Right.
So how can you indict the NBA? The NBA has tried everything it legitimately can to keep kids over there as long as possible, but I don't know.
Yeah, because listen, they have a players union, and he mentions the players union in here. I can't remember what he said, but anyway, they have a players union, and the players union, they are saying, hey, these are people that deserve to make money if they have the opportunity to make money. It's hard to argue with that. It's hard to say, no, you should make them stay in school for 4 years when they have this opportunity to earn. I would have left college if I had a job that was going to start out paying me $100,000 a year.
Yeah, you're right about it.
So how do you tell these people no? So I think that the NBA definitely, there's something there. I mean, I'm not saying they don't have any kind of partnership with the NCAA, that they don't benefit in any way. But for him to call them an unindicted co-conspirator and use a whole paragraph to say, the NBA is something that you're going to be up against. No, she's not. She doesn't have to deal with the NBA. So really, I think in retrospect, after our post-analysis comment, I would say this letter is total bullshit, as is Mitch the bitch.
This is why I love the fifth column. This is why.
So...
let's see. Maybe we should just roll into our next topic. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by the Revolution. We're going to talk about the rumors of a Martin reboot after pictures surfaced on multiple social media platforms of Martin, Gina, and Pam together having a meal. We'll be right back to talk about it. News, the Sunday edition. I'm your co-host, Tresnay, this time joined with the Revolution.
Hey, what's happening?
We are so excited, at least I know I was, when I saw pictures and rumors of Martin television show possibly coming back for a reboot, particularly since there's been quite a few reboots happening in the past year or two.
Announcements. There's a lot of announcements being made in the world of television. Obviously, film as well. They're talking about remaking several films, but here we're talking about television. And one of my favorite announcements was Murphy Brown. They're bringing Murphy Brown back, and I think that I just want to speak on Murphy Brown really quickly. That in this climate, they're saying, look what women have done since Murphy Brown, and what would Murphy Brown have to say in this television landscape of political, social, trans unrest. There's a lot of fertile material for such a character and such a show. So that brings us to Instagram. Famed actor, comedian Martin Lawrence put a post on his Instagram. He actually took a couple pictures with his co-stars, his former co-stars, Tashina Arnold and what's the other one's name?
Campbell.
Yeah. I don't want to be alone tonight. Where the three of them, well, the two women were actually, Tashina and Tisha, were kissing Martin Lawrence on opposite sides of their cheek. And I was like, whoa. How do we go from sexual harassment charges? I don't need to keep looking on the screen like you do. It's back there. I don't need to keep, it's back there. I trust it. And if not, oh well. So they were kissing, and we know that they had a stormy final season due to harassment allegations from Martin Lawrence. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they settled. Tisha won in the settlement agreement, and that final season was abysmal. They did not film one scene together. She was not in any of those scenes. The series actually continued without her. I remember that back then that they were legitimately thinking of recasting her. And on the very, very, very short list, they actually had Regina King on deck to replace.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How would that have gone?
She was on a very short list to replace Tisha Campbell, and so I think they just thought against it because there were several shows back then that recast Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Viv 2.0.
They recast Aunt Viv, and then there was another show called. It was one of my favorite shows. It was about a mixed family. It was a black man and a white wife, and she had a kid and he had a kid. I think it was called True Colors. And it was on Fox. It was a really good show. And so the father was Donald Faison, the one don't be pulling the falling down the stairs shit either from Coming to America. He was the dad. And they replaced him with Blazing Saddles breakout star Cleavon Little. And he just didn't have the gravitas to contend with what Donald had done with that role. And then that show ended up failing after that and being canceled. So everyone obviously saw it. TMZ actually had a video clip of them coming out of whatever building that it was. Do you know what building?
I don't know what building it was, but it looked like it was outside of Morton's Steakhouse.
Oh, so it was outside of an eatery in Los Angeles. So I only saw the conversation, and they were really having fun. They were really jovial. It was not just positive; it was through the roof. And Tisha was playing very, very fast and loose with
Yes.
the team. I'm not going to call them reporters because they're not reporters. It's a bunch of jackasses with cameras that run up on people. Hey, Martin. Hey, Tisha. Hey, what are you guys doing? What'd you guys eat? Can you belch in my face and let me smell it? Like, this is
so accurate.
That's what they do.
It's a great TMZ non-reporter.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey, man, if you don't get your punk ass out. I would keep goons on deck to be like, hey, when you go around the corner, kick his motherfucking ass for me. I would definitely do that. See, that's why I want to have a lot of money. I don't care about fame, but just a little, so TMZ people like that, so I can take my car and run them off the road and slap them. Like, I just want to do dumb stuff to people like that. Yes, it is Grand Theft Auto.
Driving people off the road.
Yeah, well, my goons will.
When I was in LA, I had one run-in with TMZ because Britney Spears happened to be wherever I was at this moment. It was like a grocery store or something. And you know, my Midwest, I didn't know what was going on. And I apparently got in the way. And one of them rolled up on me, screeched the car, rolled down the window, was like, get out the way, bitch. And I was like, holy shit.
See? Oh, but I bet you want to do something when somebody say, hey, get out the way, bitch. I ain't nobody's bitch. You done took off all your little accessories and then you trying to catch a case in, huh?
Yes, I could have used the thug that's it.
Yeah. So, bring it back around back into some journalism. So Tisha Campbell and them, they were playing around. They said, so are you guys, is there a reboot coming? And he said, we ain't telling you shit.
Yes.
And that was really funny.
Yes, it was.
And so, obviously, there is very little reason for them to just hang out and have dinner.
That's right.
There are talks that they're going to reboot.
Yes.
I guess it wouldn't be a reboot, but just to do the Martin television show over again, much in the same vein that they've done with Fuller House.
Yes.
That they did with Arrested Development.
Yes, that they're doing Roseanne.
Roseanne is coming back. They're talking about rebooting Magnum PI. They're talking about rebooting Cagney and Lacey. And so now Martin is the next show on the developmental block. So, yeah.
I got some tweets I'd like to read you.
Yeah, please.
Because when this hit the interwebs, folks were talking. Here's some comments we got. Martin was a product of the time and culture. No reboot can capture that. How do you modernize Shanae? What current fashions do you throw Pam in? I can't even imagine how they decorate the apartments and houses. That was at 3rd and Miles. Another one, this is Brit Knows Best. When that Martin reboots come out, I want to see y'all boosting it like y'all do the original. Keep that same energy. Here's another one. This is Nardy Nard. Martin reboot is going to be grade A trash for the simple fact that it's 2018 and not 1993. Way too much has changed. And to quote the Reggie Mathis of the FCN fam, he says, I'm in. Hopefully the internet actually gives it a shot before it becomes overly critical of the colorism baggage and overt sexism of Martin's character. Just let this shit ride out without the think pieces, please. Okay. What are you thinking about these comments with regards to a reboot of Martin? Because we do know that Martin had some colorism in that series for sure, particularly I think the most visible between Pam and Gina. Right? With their characters, one being a little more superior, one being a little more inferior. There's quite a bit. So what are you thinking with regards to those comments?
Well, first of all, everyone is entitled to their opinions. I do believe that we would see a different show. They're talking about the energy. Martin is not as hungry as he was then. Martin was very young. He was very hungry. He had a lot of aggressive energy to be funny.
Yes.
You know, like when you watch those episodes, man, he really put a lot into those characters. I cannot see him having that same zeal to bring Dragonfly Jones back, to bring Shanae back, to bring, you know, like he's gained weight. He's got his grown man weight on. He's got that rich man's disposition now. I think the people that have energy, as you've seen, was Tisha Campbell. The Campbell Martin, the Campbell Martin household can use that steady check.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
You know, they out there looking like that they've been having chicken tonight and rice-a-roni and maybe some
hamburger helper.
Man, they look like that's a hamburger helper house. They ain't done nothing relevant now. Now, Tashina, on the other hand,
stay working.
Listen, Tashina be like, new check, you know. She out there. She still ain't cashed them. Everybody hates Chris checks. She's like, not. I ain't even got to them checks yet. I ain't even got to them checks. So, whoa, man, you definitely are gonna have to address that. Like, the big thing is nobody's mentioned is how do you address Tommy?
You know what? You're right. I saw one tweet where someone said, I think that they should start with his funeral and move the show from there.
Yeah. But then here's the other thing. We've also seen, anyone that doesn't know out there, what's Cole's real name? Carl Tom? I always want to say Carl Payne.
Yes, Carl. Yeah, Payne, yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's Payne. It's like Carl Thomas Payne or something like that, right?
Yeah, y'all know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Cockroach.
So, yeah, Cockroach. You know, he and Martin did not have a positive working relationship.
Not
at all.
Zero.
So how do you finesse bringing him back into the fold? So, like, let's be honest here, that show had a lot more problems besides besides what was happening on screen that we saw. Mm-hmm. Colorism and things like that of that issue, the 90s, the aesthetic. There are a lot more problems to bring that show back. So, you know, how do we address all of those issues? That's a lot. That is actually a lot. And then to say that we address the show starting out with Tommy's death would be a completely different tone for what we're historically used to with the Martin program. I think that if you want to be honest, I think what Martin would end up looking like would probably be the other show Tisha Campbell was on in the 2000s. It would look a lot like My Wife and Kids.
Okay.
You know, I mean, literally, it'll look like Martin and Gina would have had a couple kids, and if they do it correctly, they should be the stars of the show. Like these kids, the Payne kids would be the stars of the show. Imagine if Martin. So you have down here, you know, best ways to reboot. Yes, so here's what I would say.
Okay,
you would have a young Martin Payne Jr. who is a YouTuber. He is huge on YouTube, you know, and people are like, oh, you only famous because of your daddy. And he's like, I'm more famous than my daddy. And like him and his, like he's always getting to like, you ain't never had the views that I had on that little punk show that you had. And he's like, what you say, boy? Oh, you heard what I said. And like this little dude has money, you know, and then maybe he has a sister. So like you could really make this almost the upper echelon of Blackish even.
Yes.
To like rival that, where it's like these kids aren't so goofy that they really are with it, and that these parents are like, oh my God, what did we create? We created these monsters, and like maybe even Tashina, Auntie Pam, Auntie Pam is all in with, and they love Pam. Like, do you know how that would hurt Martin that his kids love Pam like unconditionally? Like, say something about my Auntie Pam again, you know, like, and like they always coming for him when he like that would be so fun.
See Pam, you know, being PR because they were in marketing and PR, and Pam could be the powerhouse PR person now. You know what I mean? Like showing she always had the chops. She doesn't have to be inferior. Yes, bruh.
I'm trying to told you.
I'm gonna need y'all to tag all them in this
I'm
broadcast.
trying to told you. You would have to go into. You'd have to go out there and find maybe even a YouTuber, maybe a popular YouTuber right now to even bring him in and bring his popularity in. You know who I would nominate for that? If he has acting chops. My former next door neighbor growing up.
Yes.
And huge YouTuber, CJ So Cool. We grew up together. CJ So Cool and I grew up together. And if he has the acting chops, he would be perfect to play Martin's son, like a guy like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I would say let's have him a sister, another sibling. I don't want him to have too many kids. Like, 2 kids would be perfect.
Because that's about right.
Yeah, not too much. Yeah. Cole. You know, like, I would make Cole successful that he created something, a .com. Cole did, like Renner Spoons. Listen, RennerSpoons.com, he blew up. He became like the Jeff Bezos lit like.
He started with spoons, and now he just got a whole bunch of other stuff like Jeff Bezos. Listen, that is so.
Come on, man, you listen. He is the hood Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
He is a multi-millionaire, and he's like, I told you, random spoons, and like Cole. And so Martin and Gina are really just these parents now. Like everything didn't work out the way they thought, but they're still well-to-do because
and they're still together.
They're still together.
And,
yes. And is Mama Payne still alive? Let's put her in a wheelchair. Let's make let's update some of that stuff. Shanae, I'd love to see Shanae. I'd like to see Shanae.
It still exists.
I think she has a chain of hair, something, maybe even a weave line. Like that she came out with, like
with an Instagram page, she's selling weave.
Come on, man. Listen.
That's real.
Listen, it would really be brilliant if they incorporated our world that we live in now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think Martin could be that. Now, here's the thing about Martin that always bothered me. Was the sophistication in the writing. I did not like shows that followed the lead character throughout the show. Like if they weren't on the screen, then there was no action following. I would love to see this Martin be a little bit more in line to, let's say, for instance, like Seinfeld, where it had an A story, a B story, and a C story. Yes. And it was a true ensemble, and everyone got shine, everyone got time, instead of it just revolving around Martin Lawrence. That was one of the themes that bothered me when I was younger. I loved it because Martin was very funny. Like, he could just be on screen and just blow it away. But Pam was funny. Tommy was funny. Like, everyone else was funny, and I think they should have gotten their storylines as well. So I would like to see them have a little bit more sophistication in their writing to incorporate, A, B, C stories, and let all of those players have storylines throughout the production. And obviously we talked about, the colorism issue. I'm not so caught up in that. It was something that I felt with, but I think that they will address it. If anyone is out there taking notes, like you all do, they follow my Twitter heavily. A lot of writers and comedians follow my Twitter, and they be stealing. I know y'all be stealing. But yeah, I think those would be not bold, but I think they would just be in line with good, solid writing where you don't even have to try hard. I mean, we're sitting here on the set, and I literally gave you the premise.
Yes, you did.
And you cannot tell me you wouldn't want to watch that for several seasons.
Right, I would.
Yeah, it'll be very entertaining.
I think so too.
Yep.
Man, that was really good.
Well, I mean, that's what I do.
That's why he's a pop culture anthropologist here at the Fifth Column Network.
You're welcome.
Are we gonna roll into another break, or can we roll?
You want to roll right into it? Let's roll right into it. You want to bring one of these young ladies in? Who wants to come in for this trans segment? Anybody wants to? Either of you want to? What's happening?
Oh, they doing? Oh my God! They were about to rock, paper, scissors to figure out who's coming on screen.
If you want to, do you know what they're talking about?
Yeah, I'm gonna come on, Gina. She's like, do you know what you're gonna talk about?
You have your coat.
I have my coat on.
Yeah, so that just
come on.
disqualifies you.
Oh,
yeah, she can bring that down.
Bring that on down.
There you go.
Yay!
There you go. Look at you.
Here I am.
Being
Awesome. All right, so for our final topic for today, don't know if you saw it, but Rose McGowan, the queen of white feminism, wrote a book called Brave, and she's on her book tours, lecture circuit, where she sits in front of a room and reads excerpts of her book. At a Barnes & Noble appearance, a trans woman jumped up and in a planned disruption. So let's be very clear. With a planned disruption.
Oh, it was?
Yes. So this person did not plan to attend. She happened to be walking, saw that Rose was there, and said, "Oh, she rubs me the wrong way. I'm going in there for the purpose of."
So it wasn't necessarily premeditated then.
Yes,
That's
but when they
Rose
saw it,
McGowan was making it sound like she was making it sound like somebody paid her.
yes, this person said she was not paid. Said that she was walking down the street, saw that Rose was appearing, and actually took a little time, said, no, I have got to say something to her, and just went in there purposely to wait to be able to interject what her agenda was for Rose. So The trans woman basically got up and let's see. She jumped up and said, "Hey, I have a suggestion. Talk about what you said on RuPaul. Trans women are dying, and you said that we as trans women are not like regular women. We get raped more often. We go through domestic violence more often. There was a trans woman killed here a few blocks away, and I've been followed home." And then Rose interrupted her and said, hold on. So am I. We're the same. My point was we are the same. And then she starts talking about a channel that talks about women getting abused, right? The trans woman interrupts Rose again and says, "You do nothing for trans women. Trans women are in men's prisons. What have you done for them?" Rose countered back, "What have you done for women?" And the ish blew up at that point. Like, it went totally left. And so the trans woman was escorted off by security.
Yeah.
And she was chanting, "White cis feminism. White cis feminism." And then Rose broke down in a tirade.
Yeah.
And said, "Don't label me sister."
Yeah.
Did I say sister like a white woman would?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Don't put your labels on me. Don't you fucking do that.
Whoa.
Do not put your labels on me. I don't come from your planet. Leave me alone. I do not subscribe to your rules. I do not subscribe to your language. You will not put labels on me or anybody. Step the fuck back.
Whoa.
What I do for the fucking world and what
Whoa.
you be fucking grateful. Just shut the fuck up. Get off my back. What have you done? I know what I've done, goddammit. That. Are you raising your hand? What you raising? Yes, ma'am.
Like, first and foremost, because like when I first saw this, right, because I really like Charmed, like to the point where like I've seen every episode ever more than 3 times. So like when I first saw this, I was like, dang, you know, because like when I first saw her come out, I was like, okay, like I can cheer, because I really like Alyssa Milano, because like her Twitter is really great and everything. Really so I'm like, Rose, like there can't be anything wrong. But then like I watched this video, right, and I wanted to be upset with her, but then I thought about Charmed, and I'm like, this is no, but listen, this is the same Rose. Like she's just an actress, so like she's dramatic. You know what I'm saying? So like that's part of it, and a lot of. I don't know. There was just a lot of stuff, and I hate to say it because at one point, like, it's still hard for me to say that I don't like her just because I'm still stuck on that. But, like, it's just like, like, I just feel like she's an actress.
You feel like she was acting drama in that moment?
I feel like she was definitely channeling it. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's a lot of better ways. It's like a good thing to compare it to is I remember when Bernie and Hillary were campaigning and somebody ran up on Hillary and said something, and then Bernie like showed that campaign video and like a similar thing had happened to him, but he kind of let the person get up and like talk and everything.
Yeah, it was a black. It was like a couple black women. Yeah, and he let them speak. Yeah. Okay.
Instead of just like giving them the boot, because it's like. You have to, like, both of those people were wrong, and I feel like somebody even came out with, like, proof of the transgender woman being, actually, like, a sex offender or something like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Somebody's going to have to dig a little deeper into that. But I've seen a couple
FCN
things.
researchers?
Yeah, there we go.
FCN researchers.
I've seen a couple things on social media, because I think actually Rose posted that on her Twitter, because I was reading, she had some tweets where she was, like, going off on like her publicist and everybody was there, like she canceled all her like upcoming things. That's what I'm saying. Like I kind of feel like, yeah. And I was looking at her like story and everything, and I'm like, okay, this is very similar to like a lot of the other claims that other people are making. So I was trying to figure out too, like, at what point did she become like the for sure champion? Because there's several points where she's like, what I've done for you, and I got rid of this for you, and it's like. We like to see all that stuff, but it's not like everybody was like, we had a feminism meeting and we were like, you know who should really shave their head and be in charge of all of this? Rose McGowan. Like, okay, I don't know. I don't know. So it's like, it's a good thing. Like, I don't want to make fun of her, but it's just like,
no, I don't think you're making fun of her.
In that spot, really. You know what I mean? And it's cool that you're doing it, but also just relax a little bit, because like, you know, Pink shaved her head, Miley shaved her head, not for the same reasons, but I feel like that's a big argument for her. Is like, I gave up my beauty for you, but like, so but bald people can't be like, there's so many just problems,
right? But then you would have cancer patients like, oh, don't piggyback on my, like, listen.
Yes, that is exactly what we're
Listen, it's such a slippery, like,
Yes.
it is so bizarre to me in the world that we live in where everyone wants their voice.
Yes.
And so, where do you want to start unpacking with this?
I think I want to start unpacking.
Thank you for that. That was a great.
Yes, it was.
That was a great comment,
Yes, it
by the
was.
way.
I want to start when it went left.
Okay.
When the trans woman said, "You do nothing for trans women," and Rose asked the question, "What have you done for women?" And then the response to that was white cis feminism, and that's where she kind of lost it. I feel that she lost it when that word cis was applied to her.
Yeah.
And she snapped. She kept snapping because even just to quote another line she gives after that, where she's like, "I'm mad that you put shit on me because I have a fucking vagina." And then she's like, "Stop boxing everybody into shit. I don't agree with your cis fucking world, okay? Fuck off." And so I felt that the real pop off was from that label cis being applied to her.
Yes.
It does seem that the word cis is a bad word. I don't ever really see it being used on Twitter and social media as being something positive, that someone's always being called out for not being out of what is considered normative, if you will.
Yeah.
That it is a bad word if you're being called cis. And I felt that her reaction was to that. Particularly that I'm asking you, what have you done for women? Yeah. And you come at me for being a woman. Like,
well, I want to say this, right? I've said this in my personal life. Please do not label me. You know, we've had this discussion. Right. I'm not cis. I'm not subscribing to any of that. You know, like, first and foremost, do I know what it means? Yes.
Yes.
I know what it means. Does that mean that I want to assign myself to it? You have to think that at some point in time that there were several labels for classification of the black.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All the way from, Zambo, all the way up to mulatto. And everything in between. Right? To classify what you were and just being black.
Right.
You couldn't just be black, but you had to have a certain class, and those people that were a fair shade were above you. Right? So if listen, this world of gender and sexual and all of these different expressions, let me say this. Okay? I have no problem with no trans people whatsoever.
Right.
Okay? I have no problems with anyone who identifies themselves on any spectrum of sexuality. That's what you do in your bedroom.
Right.
I don't care.
I do not care.
I do not care.
Rather not know, actually.
Right. So if you introduce yourself to me and you say, "Hey, my name is Kate." Oh, hey, how you doing, Kate? I'm going to know you as Kate now.
Right.
I don't care about you. I don't know anything about you other than what you've introduced to me. Now, if you were someone that I've known for 25 years and you used to be Brian,
right?
Now you want me to identify you as Kate, you're going to have to give me an enormous amount of patience and understanding to me because you want me to undo every single thing that I've known about you for 25 years. That's a hard ask for anyone.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's a hard ask. Do you mean that I don't respect you? No, that doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean I don't love you anymore. That doesn't mean it means none of that. It's a hard ask for me to reprogram my brain that you're a totally different person, that you see yourself as, and I've only seen this.
Right.
So we have to understand that. And another thing, these people out there, like you said, on Twitter and the other various social media platforms and in real life, I've only heard cis. Shut your cis gender. Like, wait a minute. So because I don't identify on this spectrum or this, what do you call this? This is academic. What is this stuff? These words that they're coming up with?
Jargon? Is that what the word you want to
No, not jargon, but they're not jargon because they're.
It's like,
it is jargon.
No, but I know what you. But they are actually like
academic terms.
Yeah,
for sure.
So,
they're clinical.
Yes,
they're very clinical terms,
yes,
and I'm not in that world. So why are you applying that to me? Because I am me. I'm the Revolution. I was born this way. I know what I want. I like what I like, and just let me be. But you have to label me because you have labeled yourself.
I see it as more of you're not wanting transgender to be a third option. That you're trying to pull me as a subcategory of woman. You got woman here, and you wanted to split into trans and cis. No. I'm a woman, and I believe trans should be another category.
Yeah.
And I feel that a lot of them, where they're saying trans can be used negatively, it's because you want to erase who you are biologically and make yourself the same as me biologically.
Hold on, come back, Jacob.
That is where I am.
Okay.
Is, so I kind of understand Rose popping off. I just asked you, what are you doing for women? And now you want to be like, you sis, whoa. We're not the same. We're not the same. Are there some issues that might cross over? Yes. Because if you happen to make your body look like mine and you're put on a dress and walk down the street, you're going to get catcalled and stalked just like I would. But there's a whole bunch of issues that come with being transgender that I don't have to deal with. Nobody's negating that at all.
Yeah.
We actually have a comment from Stephen K. Richmond. He said, finally, if you are trans and look like a woman and I don't know you're trans, then you're a woman, period. Don't tell me you're trans to incite some kind of emotion.
Right. Right.
I think that's, and the thing too, even with like the cis thing, it kind of reminds me of like the term white privilege, and sometimes if you say it to people, they get upset. But it's just kind of like it's not something that you should be upset or feel bad about, like especially if it's privilege, and that's part of the reason why I feel like people don't like the cis word because they feel like along with it comes privilege. But something like being straight, you know what I mean? That's so situational because like I could be straight and around a million other people over there that are straight, but if they're all white, like I'm going to jail first. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So it's like, honestly, like we're just gonna zero it on that part. So it's just kind of like there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with having privilege. It's just kind of about how you use it. Which is one thing that I can kind of respect Rose McGowan for because she is trying to like use her platform to say, hey, like be brave, speak up. Because I mean, you gotta admit, I feel like it kind of worked because that person was brave enough to walk in there and be like, hey, F you, like look at, well not F you, but look at what's going on. Like I haven't seen you do any. But my question to her is also like, again, who is Rose McGowan? You know what I mean? That's the first thing I thought when she said, what are you doing for trans women? Like, what are you know what I mean?
Right,
like,
she's
go
an
lobby
actress.
for that. Yeah, go lobby for that. Like, what can Rose McGowan do for any of those people? Because it's like, okay, go visit, and then after she leaves, what?
Then
so
what?
It's just and it's not even like she's like, I don't know how rich she is, not rich enough to fix that. So it's just.
But I mean, there are billionaires who can't fix stuff. Like you said, go lobby.
Right.
Like, who are our politicians? Who's your congressman? Who who's over your state? Who's your state legislators? Who those are the people that can make change. Why do we put so much on an actress?
Right. That's who we should be yelling at.
Yeah, that's who we should be yelling at. So it's such a complicated and convoluted conversation, and I think that the start of it is for a program like us to never shy away from it. Every time it comes up, we should keep talking about it. We should keep putting it out in front of people. And like Mr. Richmond said on Facebook, we should have a dialogue. And this is the thing that I want to say here. I am very proud of you all as being part of the African American, what's the word? Diaspora? Yeah. There you go. Yeah, there I go. Yeah, make sure you get some extra credit. I'll tell them that you made sure I knew what that meant. Yeah, okay. So, that we, yet again, are championing the discussion. As, are we protected minorities? Because I don't feel that we're protected.
Constitutionally, we are a protected class, but as applied, I'm going to say not so much. In the words of Chris Rock, there's some animals that get more protection, species that get more protection than we do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Cis pit bulls get more.
I actually want to make a comment
Yes, sir.
based on kind of the privilege angle. So Hollywood has this problem, right?
Yeah.
And it's Hollywood has its own problem that it is dealing with. And Rose, in her current iteration, came from that, right?
Yes.
Because her and people she knew were, harassed or, inappropriately touched, groped, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So she's dealing with that subject. So it's really privileged of you as someone from another class that has a different problem to try and piggyback on the problem that Rose is trying to solve, or at least trying to address and bring to light.
Right.
Like you're like, well, you should help me too. Okay. But the
First
me
things
too,
first. First things first.
First things first, right. Like that is it is an issue. It is a valid issue, but it's another issue.
Yeah. It's just like when Black Lives Matter and then all lives matter.
Yes.
Okay, but we're just dealing with this right now.
Right here.
Let's fix this.
Yes.
And then we'll deal with
Talk about
everybody else, but it's scary. It's scary, but it is about erasure.
Yes.
And just because you want to erase who you are, don't force everyone to subscribe and label and place us into categories that we don't want to be placed in.
Yes.
And this is kind of, the irony here is where you have the Trump supporters talking about political correctness, where I believe that they're right. Like, whoa, like slow down. Like, you can't change everything that I have known my entire life because you have made a choice.
Yes.
This is all I know. This is what I have room to know something? Sure. But don't force it on me. I'm not ready to know that yet.
Yes.
I'm not trying to destroy you. I'm not trying to discredit you. I want you to have everything that you have coming to you. But please, chill out for a second. Let me get my bearings.
Let me wrap my head around
Let me
this.
wrap my head around
I need
this.
radical patience and tolerance, too.
There you go. So
All right.
I think that's...
Speaking of rapping.
That's right. Speaking of rapping, let's wrap this up. This has been a great episode,
Yeah, it's
guys.
been pretty good.
She's like, yeah, you had a great debut appearance.
And Miss Kennedy?
Yes, Miss Kennedy.
And her baseball cap. You look like you're about to rob someone. Like you have the...
I would rob somebody in a purple hat.
Yes.
They're gonna detail her. Yeah, she's got like bright green eyes. They're gonna be like, it was that guy.
Well, we appreciate you being here. She was under the weather this week, so the fact that she even
Absolutely.
came today, I'm so pleased and happy. Thank you.
Did you all tell them where to find you at on social media?
At the beginning of
Tell them again.
I am at TrapSpice36 on Instagram. Twitter, I think, is the same. If it's not, it's at Gina Davina. It's okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
There. See? He knows and I don't know.
Yeah.
And Kennedy's, all her names are at Kinley Pie.
Everything. Yeah, look at that. We're like a lot alike because I'm the Revolution everywhere. Not that that's apples.
Oh my God. I'm going to wrap this up. This has been another episode of Prime News, the Sunday edition. We will be back tonight at 7 p.m. with Speak on It with Mr. Majors and author Nikila Shannon. They will be here talking about Valentine's Day and who is it really for. So that will be their topic today. They will have a special guest as well to educate some folks on something new in Valentine's Day. So you definitely don't want to miss that. So if you haven't liked our page or subscribed or followed, please do so you get a notification when we're live with that show. With that, this has been the Sunday edition. I'm Trezene.
I'm the Revolution.
I'm Regina.
And we will see you guys next Sunday.
Pow pow.